So today we are going to start on reporting custom fields and calculated fields. So the agenda for this chapter is going to be, we are going to understand what is report as a service, concepts of report as REST-based web service, concepts as report as SOAP-based web service, then custom fields, prompting, sharing reports. So let's see, report as a service, RaaS. The concept of report as a service is you can enable advanced and search reports as web services. So Workday Web Services enable access to report results using URLs in which you can use in integrations between Workday and external business services. Example, payroll benefit providers, external reporting tools to access Workday data, example, Microsoft Excel, or any other external reporting tool. So output options for web service include either in CSV, GData, JSON, RSS, simple XML, or Workday XML. Any questions about the output types? CSV is comma separated value, GData is a standard, JSON is also standard, RSS is also standard, XML, and then Workday XML. We will look at these examples in the next slides. So output options for web services include, before enabling a standard report as a web service, consider copying a standard report to a custom report. To avoid any disruptions to your integration process, if Workday updates a standard report, enable the custom report as a web service instead. So standard reports are provided by Workday and they could be updated in due time. And if, say, Workday changes those standard reports and you're using that as a source for your RaaS report, then your source will then get changed without your knowledge. It is advisable to that if you're trying to use a standard report, make a copy of it and convert it to an advanced report with your own custom name, and then use that for your RaaS services. Can get REST request fails if you enable a custom report as a web service and the username of the report owner contains a backslash. So you have to be mindful of this last point as well. So let's see a report. To build a REST-based web service integration, you need access to the Workday XML definition underlying the report. REST-based web services are easier to define and implement than SOAP-based web services, especially when you use them as read-only transactions. So to use a report as a REST-based web service, you need the URL for accessing the report outside of Workday. So in order to access a REST-based web service, once you create your report, you have to share the REST-based URL to the external parties. For a custom report, you can view the REST URL for report by selecting the web services, view URLs from the related actions menu of the report, a definition, clicking the Workday XML links. So for a standard report, from the related actions menu of the report, select web services, view URLs, click the XML icon, copy the URL from your browser address bar, paste the URL as specified by your reporting tool to define the data source. The XML icon only displays if you enabled for your Workday account. So contact your Workday security administrator to have this feature enabled if you don't get this feature within your reports. Some XML reporting tools support specifying a schema with a data source to help interpret and validate the data. Workday embeds a schema for a standard report in the WSDL. To view the schema associated with a standard report from the related actions menu of the report definition, select web service, view WSDL, select all the XML from the opening, say XSD schema tag to the closing XSD schema tag. Copy the XML and save it to a file as your reporting tool requires. So we are going to practice this. In fact, let's do it step by step. Otherwise, we'll miss something. So let's take a standard report. So these are all the standard reports provided by Workday. Say category, say HCM. So select all countries. So here is our report. Let's copy this report first. Standard report, copy. I'm going to call it, say, ZT. So except for the option of selecting everything every time, I'm going to put it in the prompts. Prompts, specify default value. All right. So what we've done is we've taken a standard report, made a copy of it. So now this is our advanced or custom report. Okay. So if I click on this, I can see the name of the report, report type, the data source, the primary business object, and then I can see all the fields here which are in the report. Like the business object is worker, and the field is like worker, primary address country, primary work address, primary phone number, and so on. It is sorted by worker alphabetically. The filters at primary work address in the selection is equal to default prompt, and the currently active equals to yes. So the active worker information will only show up. So in the prompts, as we saw in the filter, that the country has a default prompt, and in the prompt, it's populated and we selected all the countries that were in the list. So 245 countries are selected. So in the output, we can see the output type is table. And say, if you want to have charts or chart and table and gauges, we can set that up as well, depending on the report type. It is not shared with anyone. And in the advanced, I would need to enable it as web service for me to run the RaaS or SOAP reporting. I'm going to enable this. So it will show me the web API version and the namespace for this as well, that Workday will create specifically for this report on the tenant. So after I enable this, you would see that in the columns, I get these additional column, say column heading override XML alias. So these are unique XML alias for each object or field that I'm pulling the report for. So worker is going to be worker primary address country. It's going to be this. I can either use these or I can change them as per the requirement specifications set out by the vendor as to how they would like to see the column heading override XML alias. All right, these are basically your header information for each business objects field. So we can enable advanced report and search report as a web service that we did. Uh, Output options for web service are these. We'll look at that. Include before enabling a standard report of the web service, consider copying the standard report to a custom report, which we did, and get RaaS request fail if we have a backslash character. So we have to be mindful of that. So to build a REST-based web service integration, you need access to Workday XML definitions. So to use a report as a REST web-based service, you need the URL for accessing the report. So for a custom report, you can view the REST URL by reporting. For a report by selecting web services, view URLs from the related actions. So let's go find out where that is. So let's run this. So once you've run the report, you can go to the related actions button, go to web services and say click on view URLs. And when you have the permissions to do this, you will see the Workday XML, the simple XML section, CSV, RSS, JData, JSON. So you would get all these links available to you to be either opened by yourself or can be shared with vendor. So this is the XML file. So it will have the definition of the XML, URL reports by directory, all the header information, all the combination, what kind of visual type it is. So does any one of you how to read an XML document? Let's see if I open the simple XML. URL and execute capacity limit for the server. Let me see if I can shorten the namespace and see if that helps. Okay, I think I know why. Let me see. Maybe I've selected all the countries and that's creating a huge URL. So I'm going to remove all of them and say just select United States. I think it could be able to pull it for us. Oh man. Give me one moment. Let me see if I can. All right. I think I would require to connect to this tenant in order for this report to work. Oh, is someone else using the tenant right now? The RDP? May I please log in? Okay, in order to run the reports or the XML links, I need to have the user ID and password of the tenant. Let me see if I can reset this. Actions. So let's try to access the URL again. Now, it would not let me access the account. I cannot open these links for now. Even the CSV file. No, it doesn't let me open the files. But basically, these are the links that you would be using to access the data either in XML format, simple XML format, CSV format, RSS, GData, JSON. Actually, I tried to connect to the RDP, but I think somebody else is using it. And as soon as I log in, they kick me out. But because we're in the class together and we are trying to access it probably together, that's why we are all using the tenant at the same time on the RDP. But generally, during the course of your day, um, it would be very unlikely that you both or more than one people is using the tenant simultaneously. Let me try one more thing. Give me one moment, and I would like to show you on a different tenant. Give me one moment. So here, this is directory by country. And here I can see the REST, XSD, WSDL. Let me see if I can open it in a new tab. There we go. So this is the XML format that can be now accessed by an external system. So if I try to open the simple XML, it'll give me the data in simple XML format. Say if I want the data in CSV format. So depending on your partner's system, whichever type of data or format they would like to see the data, they would be able to access this data by the links that you share with them. So this is a CSV format, say comma separated value, and give all these information. And if the data is required in a JSON format, you can share the JSON link with your partners. So I don't have an app to open the JSON link, or say if it's an RSS format, so it will give the format in RSS format. No, this is not a public link. This is a secured link. You see, the challenge that I'm having with this GMS tenant is I cannot, I do not have the password, or I don't, Workday does not let me reset the password or access this from the GMS tenant. And hence I had to go to a separate tenant to create a copy of the report to show you the output. So for this, you need to have integration account created or a service center account created within Workday with a user ID and password and the access levels and the domain security for that particular user. And then they would be able to access this with the specified user ID and password provided by your Workday tenant. But you create either an integration user for testing, or you have a service center account created for them for testing.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Right? Never ever share your Workday credentials with anybody. It's like giving keys to your house.
Okay. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
You may have a duplicate key for your house. You can get your house back, but because this is all personal data, which is governed by the regulating authorities, and any confidential data that may be shared with somebody else who's not authorized to see the data, your company might be in big trouble. So
Okay.
never, ever share your personalized information with anybody across the board. Because this is a HCM tool, I'm emphasizing it again because it's a human capital management tool. Depending on your user ID and password, you may have access to a lot of data that is confidential because you are the custodian of that. If by mistake your personal credential information is shared with somebody and they get access to those areas where they're not supposed to, you will be in trouble. To use a report as a REST-based service, you need a URL for accessing the report outside of Workday. Like we saw the examples here, that when I go to, after I run the report, I go to the report, say I go to the web services, say view URLs. Say I unselect all of them and only select one country. So it'll give me a very short URL that I can share. Otherwise, for every country, it was creating a URL which was too long. And then whichever format you want to share it in, say Workday XML, you can copy the URL and say, for example, share this URL with your either your system, either you're importing it in Excel, if you're importing in any other system or sharing it with your client, along with your authentication details that you have created for that vendor. You can share this link and they would be able to access data from your tenant with the authentication details that you have shared with them. It all depends how your company policy is. Generally speaking, when you have to give access to your vendors, either you create an integration service user account, which is authenticated by MD5 challenge or SSH certificates. So there's a whole process around that. Or you can create a service center for the vendor and then add users to those accounts. And then those users would be assigned specific security access domains for the areas that they should be authorized for. So again, for a standard report, from the related actions menu, report definition, select the web services view URL, click on the XML icon, copy the URL from your browser bar, paste it, and the XML icon displays in your Workday account. So let's have a look at our standard report, which was directory by country. Say web services, view URLs. Here are links for your XML and internet rest. So with standard reports, you just get two types of output files or output links. But when you create a custom report, then you have a lot of variety of the data types that you can share. To answer your question, Jamoke, say view service center. So you create a GMS, like a GMS service center, then you add members to those accounts, and then you can give them, each member may have a specific security, so role security profile, say view security groups. So these are the security groups assigned to that an enforced person who is part of the GMS service center. And they can only access the data of these security areas. Make sense? Or you have security groups for integrations, which are not used by people, but these are used by data systems for data connectivity. And these are the security group names, like Adaptive ISSG 1099 system, say, integration test group, integration LK testing ISSG, integration services group, and then which domains they have access to. So they cannot log in into Workday as a user like we are doing in the GUI tenant, but they can only access the tenant via integration services. So if your XML reporting tool requires a schema, then you would share the WSDL link with them. And this is the instructions as to when you're sharing it. You can share the schema details, which start from XSD schema tag to the closing, opening till closing tags. And you can share it with your partners or vendors. All right, so to build a SOAP-based web service integration, you need access to the web service definition language, WSDL definition underlying the report. Using the WSDL, you can define integrations from external applications that need access to your Workday report data. For custom reports that you enable as a web service, you can access the WSDL by selecting the services URL from the related actions menu of the report definition and click the WSDL link. We also call WSDL as WSDL. That's a common name that is being used. So this is going to be your Workday WSDL link or WSDL link. Again, as I don't have permissions to run the report, but this report does not have any customer information or this WSDL link, but it has the structure of what data to get and how to use that data. So you can also use a WSDL in another application by right-clicking the WSDL link and selecting the copy URL. So for standard reports, you can also access a WSDL link by selecting View WSDL information from the related actions menu of the report definition. Okay, for a standard report, again, you can go to related actions, go to web services, and view WSDL. And if you click on view URLs, you'll get the XML links. You'll have to enable a feature within your report. Like if you go to your report, see, this is an advanced report or a custom report. I go to edit custom report. Then I have to go to advanced and enable as web service.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
All right. So when I enable the web service, it will show me the latest version available. So if I need to use a historical version that maybe the tenant supports, say 25.2,
Yeah.
I can select the version, and then Workday will automatically create a namespace for the web service operations. And it makes it really, really easy and simple within Workday when you're trying to integrate with other users. You can edit custom fields within the context of the following BPs, such as contract contingent worker, end contingent worker contract, hire, termination, like edit additional worker data. BP enables you to create, edit custom data and standalone tasks outside the above BPs. So report a SOAP web-based service. A task enables you to create custom field types. So you can use custom fields to define fields across any extendable business object. So Workday also delivers the following standard custom field types like Boolean, currency, date, decimal, integer, paragraph text, list. So you can create custom fields based on these types of basic types. So you can extend Workday Business Object by creating custom fields and objects for your own tenant. You can create up to 100 custom fields per business object. So in order to create a custom object, you must belong to a security group that is secured to the custom object management security domain. And then custom fields can be used in both calculated fields and condition rules. Managing custom objects, you can purge additional data, you can delete custom fields, you can delete custom object as well. So let's try to create a custom field first. So create custom. So say, for example, I want to create a custom field of, say, a list, say ZT custom field. Workday can automatically give me the web services alias. say list value. So I've just created a list of, say, custom fields. And if I need to use this as a pull down list in any of the services within Workday where I need to use this, I can use this list of fields in my tenant in any of the objects that I would like to refer to. Say if I want to create a decimal field, you can use it in your reports. You can use it in your business process. You can use it in your condition rules. You can use it with your custom objects as well. Say minimum decimal value, say, is 0.00, or say 0. Maximum decimal value is, say, 5. So these are custom fields that are not available in tenant, and you have a specific requirement for those custom fields, so you can create them yourself as well. For example, there's a custom field called COVID-19 manufacturers, COVID vaccine manufacturers. So let's look at this. And here you have Moderna, Pfizer, and then you can use it in your questions, like a pull down menu in your question answers, or in your business processes, or in your reporting. And here we can see where it's being used. It's being used with a custom object called COVID-19 vaccination, and the custom field is manufacturer, and COVID-19 vaccination prioritization and tracking, again, custom field is manufacturer. So let's look at another example. Say frequency. So monthly, quarterly, annually. And if I look at it that where used, it's being used in ledger accounts. See organization goals. So it is being used in supervise the organization for organizational bonus goals. So custom field is goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. And the list of values is increase revenue by $X, or increase customer service score by Y%, or increase production by Z units. So depending on where and what you want to do, you can have these values created and being used within the tenant where you may need to use them. So the applications are kind of not limited, but not unlimited, but you can use them in uh, many areas. All depends on what your need is. But the custom objects and the custom field allow you to create your own feeds that are not available as a standard by Workday. Create a custom report. Okay, now we have an activity that we would like to do. So create a custom report called WACT employee last pay increase. Make it an advanced report, data sources, workers for HCM reporting, data source filter, all employees. So let's try to create this. So it's an advanced report, data sources, worker for HCM reporting. We're going to enable as a web service because we know we are going to use it for our web services applications or sharing with other members, other providers. So fields, so worker employee ID, worker. Last PP base pay current. So we have worker and then employee details, identify the employees and allow you to drill down into the related related actions, then the employee ID. Then we change the business object from worker to last base pay increase, and then we got the value for uh, current base pay for a worker, then proposed base pay for a worker, and we're taking the effective date of the last base pay increase process as to when it was done. So we need to filter the data of workers from London, expense report with airfares as expense items, and expense report where total amount is greater than 1,000. So let's go to the filter tab, add one row, field is location, then the comparison value, we'll say in the selection list, comparison types, values specified in this filter means value that is available in this field, location. So say LONDON, so I select London, and I press OK. So because we are using two types of business objects, we have to add the group column headings, the groups that we are using in addition to the primary business object, which is worker. If any other additional business object we are using in addition to worker, and especially when the report is web service enabled, we have to provide the business objects group column heading. Shouldn't have any prompts. Oh, we do. Okay. Okay. Next is add subfilters. So select business object on report. Say expense report all statuses. So let's go to our subfilter. Add. Don't be having this. Add two rows. Field is expense report. So expense report total amount. Report all statuses. Add two rows. Field expense report total amount. Select business object on report, expense reports, all statuses. That is what we have selected, expense report, all statuses. And the field it says is expense report, total amount is greater than 1,000. I don't see that field. Any in the selection list, and we are looking for airfare. Expense item on expense report in the selected list is airfare. So I cannot pull the airfare, but okay, let's work with this. Okay, instead of hard coding filter values, you can use prompts in your filter and subfilters. Prompts provide more flexibility because you can specify the criteria for the report each time it is run. on the filter and subfilter, you can control which field should prompt the user for a value when the report is run, except for doing a value specified in this filter. So we can say prompt the user for report. If I go to prompt and click on this, it would pull that information for me, count, and say specify default value 1000, whereas in filter it says count is greater than or equal to, let's greater than or equal to, and the value we are putting here says 100. Expense report, total amount. This has to be an outdated field. I don't know why it's not pulling up, but okay. So on the prompt tab, you can configure the prompt settings. And if you click on this, populate undefined prompt default value. So whichever prompts any of your objects or your filters that you have created, it will auto-populate all your prompts for you. So you don't have to create each and every one of them. So all the default prompts that are available in your columns, like your business objects, your filters, or your sub-filters that you have created, clicking on this will auto-populate all the prompts available within your report. So some fields in Workday come with default prompts that will automatically be added to your report if you add the field to your report definition. In the prompt tab, the populate undefined prompts default checkbox that you quickly populate any prompt defaults. So when you select this checkbox, any undefined prompts are automatically added to the prompt default grids.